Welcome back to the program, everybody. Welcome back to another show. Welcome back to another episode. Good morning or good afternoon to all of my viewers, listeners, and Soul Tribe family. The name of this program is called It's a Conspiracy, But It Ain't No Theory. It's a Conspiracy, But It Ain't No Theory is a nonprofit social service agency suicide prevention campaign servicing the needs of families and foster children at risk. Lending my voice to help raise awareness by soft publishing a book trilogy called Lucy's Lair. Lucy's Lair is a graphic novel based on true events following my life as a freelance artist. This program is intended to help encourage, heal, and empower survivors of cancel culture and rape culture, providing free information and evidence regarding child abuse, sexual assault, domestic violence, electronic harassment, gang stalking, conspiracy, and true organized crimes against humanity. Your company can help by providing funds in a grant or by donating goods and services as I continue delivering this information and evidence to the public and advocating for foster children in need. Thank you in advance for all of your support. On today's episode, I'm going to be discussing gang stalking, hypersimulation theory, psychological operations, plus surviving the New World disorder, per usual, commonly referred to as the New World Order, surviving manufactured chaos, surviving manufactured karma, spelled with a C, surviving white genocide, and surviving the electronic targeting Holocaust. My name is Adrienne Alese. I am the author and creator of a book trilogy called Lucy's Lair, Part 1, 2, and now 3. Lucy's Lair is a book trilogy reflecting my life as a survivor of rape culture, child sex trafficking, and psychological gas chambers. On this program, I advocate for women's rights, basic human rights, and the rights of those disabled. I also advocate on behalf of the foster children in the CPS system. Super important for me to do this show today. Orphans, single mothers, foster mothers, and those less fortunate. Targeted individuals or trafficked victims are predominantly women. 65 to 70% of targeted individuals are white American women or those who identify as such. This makes gang stalking an illegal operation or hate crime that is sexually and politically motivated towards American women and their children. This program is a dedication to the targeted individual community. The objective of the opposition or the counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO 2.0, is to subvert all of the target's potentiality to terminate and to punish all supporters and sympathizers, to round down the target's output and audience, to marginalize the target, to eliminate connections and networking ability. When a TI finally does become homeless, this culture starts lying to everybody and saying that the target is lying about being homeless for attention and money. So that the target or the victim, the scapegoat, doesn't receive any help from the community when it finally does become homeless as a result of all of these crimes against humanity, collective and covert, that are taking place in these communities against these TIs, to systemically segregate them, to have them set up to be abused and tortured until the point that they commit suicide. So, and also as a way to conceal, to cover up for their war crimes, this culture tries to act like if the victim is lying, like if I were to go get services for being homeless, it immediately starts brainwashing, and not just the victim, but everybody in positions to help the victim as well will be contacted by this nefarious group of criminals, war criminals, and they will be given information that will cause them to be so uncomfortable that they will lose the target's information and connection. And not only that, but they will be recruited so that they can continue the ritual during the time that the target is homeless. And now being homeless is a huge, huge deal, because this is how they apply torture. This is how this counterculture, this rape culture, this cancel culture, this death cult, this is how they apply torture. So once you are homeless, that is your punishment for existing, essentially, because I've never committed an actual crime, like the way they keep manipulating the media, all of this white supremacy and all of this, everything that it says is what it is actually responsible for doing. So if the media is talking about a war, it is actually a cover story to conceal their crimes against humanity, their war crimes against humanity. So nobody finds out the truth, except for the very few people that are involved in this nefarious group. The very few people that work for the CIA, and the very few people that work for the Illuminati, the very few people working for the government, which in all actuality, it's 2025. If you have a job at all, and I mean at all, I don't care if you're a cashier at a grocery store, you are working for the government. The government is allowing you to have that job. If they didn't want you to have that job, they would have set you up to have you harassed and blackmailed at work the same exact way they did to myself, until you are wrongfully terminated the same exact way they did to myself. So DoorDash is directly affiliated with this occult, and so is Amazon and several others. Pretty much every other company, every single company that is up and running successfully is running because of the government, and operates smoothly because it actually works for the government, because it's allowing itself or its company to be used by the government as a pawn. So when it wants to say something about a targeted individual and about its appearances, with me specifically, it's obsessed with my mouth and teeth. It is obsessed with my ass cheeks and butthole. And when I say obsessed, I literally mean that I cannot leave the house without a vehicle harassing me, obsessively fixating on my body, and specifically obsessively fixating on every orifice, so as to apply torture. It makes it feel, this sexual exploitation feels like rape. And this is being done using vehicles, but this DoorDash delivery driver came up to the house, wanted to say something about my teeth, and this is the way that he went about passive aggressively trying to communicate the message that his handler told him to say.
I didn't knock your grill over.
Oh, that's fine.
When I
Thank
stepped
you.
on the porch, it fell.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you can see how the covert narcissist in the relationship how it's instructed to leave trash in the yard. So this trash that you all see is because they purposefully leave it there. That's not my trash. And then this guy clearly had a message, and that's why you see the post office driving right next to him. Usually gang stalkers very, very, very seldomly, very rarely ever do they deliver a message like this verbally. Usually they use dark psychology or body language or something else of the sort. So this individual right here was instructed to come and tell me that basically he didn't knock the grill over, that it was already like that. There was a barbecue grill on the porch or on the patio area. And so he came up, he was instructed to knock it over, and I heard him from the inside. I was just on the inside of the door when it fell off the cliff. And so I literally heard him knock it down and then run back out to where he was standing when I caught him. And then he tries to lie and say he didn't knock it down, that it was already like that. Now, this is how it goes about passive aggressively delivering a message. And clearly the message here has to do with something about my grill. Well, what's wrong with my grill? There's nothing wrong with my grill. A matter of fact, I'm perfect. Everything I do is absolute perfection. The way that I look as well. And the enemy is angry because what it is doing is severely flawed. There's flaws in the way that it thinks. There's flaws in the way that it behaves. There are surface flaws, obvious. You can see it for yourself. Take a look. See for yourself. Of course, and then so on and so forth. Those are just a few examples. But one of the things that I wanted to mention before going any further is how these Uber drivers, these community-based agents that are undercover as an Uber driver, in any case, how it always drives a gray vehicle, typically ordinarily, and or it'll have a gray pair of sweats on, or it'll have a gray t-shirt on. Now, this is all playing off of the psychology of colors. So a color in and of itself should not have a meaning. But with the programmers who are psychosadistic schizophrenics, this is what they're projecting. Psychosadistic schizophrenic, that's what they're trying to incite. In any case, with psychosadistic schizophrenics, things that have no meaning, like colors, all of a sudden take on a life form and have tons of meaning. Now, gray is very symbolic for depression. So when you combine the two, you've got a grill that he kicked on the floor that he's lying and trying to say he didn't kick. Trying to say it was already like that when he got here. No, it was not. I heard him kick it on the floor as soon as he walked up. And I knew he was getting ready to say and or do something. That's why I pulled the phone out to start recording, because I'm savvy like that. Now, the cover story will try to describe this as some sort of alien encounter, because this individual, just like the rest of these gang stalkers working for the FBI, they're not supposed to be there ruining my day, ruining or sabotaging my public image, my reputation, my finances, or trying to dictate my career, my life, or my future at all. They have no place. It's not their place to say anything about my grill. It's not their place to kick my... That's intentional sabotage. To kick the barbecue grill on the ground? Like, what a child. Also, you can passive aggressively try to mock my tooth gap? And then turn around and say that's why I'm depressed? No, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not depressed because of any of that. I'm being harassed systemically, blackmailed systemically, and these programmers, gang stalkers that work for the FBI are trying to coerce me into taking my own life. These are the methods that they are using covertly, which is why today's show and exposing Geron is so important. And so anyways, Geron is just nothing but a fucking gigantic jack off. He's literally in the living room masturbating on Mother's Day. Couldn't even say Happy Mother's Day. He never can. They cannot acknowledge the scapegoat for any fucking thing. Not one motherfucking thing. Good. So in any case, because of these psyops that anchor these female targets to the relationship, to the domestic violence relationship, because of the trauma bond, actually every time that Geron has sex with me, it is rape. That's what it means to be a trafficked victim. So he owes more money in restitutions for his victim of crime that is going without being publicly recognized, because the police will not arrest him. They're afraid of him. They're so afraid of him. The police are too afraid to arrest real criminals. That's why they conspire against good people like myself. The police are too afraid to arrest Geron. I would like to see what would happen to them if they tried to tranquilize him for being the criminal that he is, the way that they did me so easily. You know what he would have done to all of you? Y'all wouldn't even be able to stand up. And yet they're leaving me in the relationship to be abused by somebody, by himself, who is a person, who is a man, that with his own bare hands could have killed every single person if they tried to do him the same, with the same justice or injustice as they're currently doing victims like myself. They're too afraid. They have to covertly do this around him in a way that makes them look like the chicken shit that they fucking actually are. He's so fucking blinded by the trauma that he cannot even realize or recognize that his so-called friends are torturing him. His boss, his supervisor, everybody there has been hired and recruited to covertly torture him all day, every day. And all he does at work is subtly be tortured all day, every day. And then he turns around and he calls the manager like a work mom. Oh, so you have fantasies about fucking your mom? Because he fantasizes about fucking Gina and Michelle all of the time. These fantasies have been the cause for so much domestic violence. I've gone to the doctor twice, and they both denied me any justice. And so the doctors, the dumbass doctors that are failing to report this domestic violence when these victims are hauled into their offices, bloody, bruised, and bones, or bloody, bruised, and bones broken, in need of stitches. So in any case, these doctors that are failing, systemic failures, that's what your career actually says. That's what your little badge says. It doesn't say doctor nothing. It says systemic failure. That's what it says. So when these victims of this ritual, occult, abusive practice finally are hauled into these doctors' offices and these doctors fail to report this domestic violence to the police, they ought to be investigated and then terminated and put into some sort of psych ward or into prison or jail for their crimes against humanity. All right, so Chapter 18, Overview of Harassment Methods Used by FBI's COINTELPRO Operation Gladio. If you don't know what that is, go ahead and research it for yourself. Instead of calling me crazy, instead of gaslighting somebody who's smarter than you. Chapter 18, this is all of their state-paid influencers sponsored by the government pushing their secret agenda, which is a 666 Luciferian Brotherhood. Chapter 18, Overview of Harassment Methods Used by FBI's COINTELPRO, Operation Gladio, Covert Community Recruits, and Stay Behind Armies, or Instruction Manual for Community Gang Stalkers. So again, this can be verified and validated by doing a simple fact check for yourself instead of gaslighting me, holocausting me, and calling me crazy. You can actually literally just Google gang stalking for yourself, and this chapter 18 will pop up, and you can validate that I'm actually speaking facts and truth, and you are actually the crazy one and not me. So in any case, to continue, MK Ultra covers stories. This technology has interacted with quite a large amount of people. However, it is almost always misidentified as other sources. So MK Ultra is going to ultimately be the conspiracy star on my program, since these are the evil mind controlling spirits, these harassing spirits that attempt to dictate my life currently and future by mind controlling misfortunes for myself. Like, an example, not being able to afford diapers due to being unemployed and having or being coerced to have an abortion. Now, that's just one example. There are many, many, too many to list, too many to name. That's just one example of this Luciferian Brotherhood and their alien demonic agenda to depopulate. And of course, we can't talk about MK Ultra without mentioning Voice to Skull. V2K Voice to Skull. Voice to Skull is described as a wireless form of electronic harassment and mental torture. Under this method, the perpetrators use low or high frequency voices and noises to harass an individual. It can also help the perpetrators to read the mind of the individual as well as track their movements. It is also used to manipulate the target's speech and emotions, steal their identity, and confuse them. So I recently had a stalker slash harasser slash abuser that goes by the name of Justin. This is my rapist baby father's best friend. And he is always harassing me for Jason. So this is more or less what they mean. The research that I have done indicates that a narcissist will recruit flying monkeys to enhance this abuse. So that way you're being abused by everyone and not just one specific person. And also, too, that validates the narcissist mentality, its psychosadist way of thinking. Because if everybody else is doing it, then it's fine if they do it too. And it just validates them. So in any case, but really everybody is being lied to and manipulated, including the flying monkeys that are recruited. So to continue, directed energy weapon cover stories. Mental illness as an electronic harassment cover story. So I recently went back to California as a test stunt to see how the people there would react to me. And I was treated horribly. I was treated even worse there, or just about as bad than I was over here. And needless to say, everybody involved in that test simulation of me returning home failed the mission. Failed the mission. I won't be returning. I have no plans on talking to anybody that's over there ever again. Unless they happen to be somebody that is not directly affiliated with the people that I'm talking about right now. So that was an epic fail. Directed energy weapons cover stories. And then I've got Justin in the DMs in the comment section talking about how I read like a 3-year-old. Sweetheart, I'm the author of 3 books. You could never. Okay? I'll read however I feel fit to read. This is my show. It's my channel. I know everybody in the world is jealous of my YouTube channel and every other little bit of success that I have. So instead of being jealous, take the information that you know, be willing to lose your job, be willing to be lied about, conspired against, and incarcerated, and be willing to sacrifice your own life, essentially, is what you're going to have to be willing to do in order to do what I do. Okay? You're not willing to do any of that. And since this is my show, I'll read like a 3-year-old all the fuck I want. You're just a jealous nobody, literally. Directed energy weapon cover stories. Mental illness as an electronic harassment cover story. So every single person back home is affected by this. Is directly affected by this technology, which is why they're holocausting me, trying to set me up, harassing me, putting me in jail, and putting me in the hospital. So this test simulation of me going back home and how these jealous haters are going to treat me was an epic fail. Because anytime you try to take a healthy person and incarcerate them when they have not committed a crime, you're wrong for that. That's a conspiracy. You're jealous for that, okay? The reason why all of these covert clandestine operations, secret service operations are happening, the reason why there are these covert clandestine pop-up military bases in and around every single TI, a targeted individual like myself, is because these programmers are psycho sadists who are full of hatred and full of envy, and not the other way around. You see, because I'm not a gang stalker. I don't practice this so-called occult science. I never have and I never will. I'm not the aggressor. I'm not the abuser. I'm not the terrorist. I'm not the Nazi white supremacist terrorist. It is the one doing the finger pointing. It is the one doing all the talking in the media, lying and gassing up a storm that is The one pointing the finger is the one responsible for these crimes against humanity, not me. I don't participate in occult rituals like scapegoating or human sacrifice, ever, unless I was coerced to do so. And even then, not without a fight. So in any case, so everybody is directly affected by this. Directed energy weapon cover stories back home and currently now here in this home. So mental illness as an electronic harassment cover story. So every single person participating in these conspiracies to harass an individual until they commit suicide, they owe restitutions. So instead of calling the police and having the victim you're abusing because you're jealous of arrested, you need to be giving them your money. You need to be giving them your car keys because you owe that person, victim of crime, because what you're all doing is a crime against humanity. You're not cool. And nobody outside of that fucking sex rape cult even likes you. Can't even fucking stand you. Much less fucking tolerates you, like you, love you. None of it exists. It's all an illusion. You put enough guns to enough people's heads and they're going to tell you whatever you want to hear. And that's just the way it goes. So the electronic holocaust is being done by hacking and compromising the computer systems, installing spyware and malware synchronized with psychological operations that include abusing technology for psyche profiling used to facilitate trauma-based mind control. That is MK Ultra, all the way tenfold. No-touch torture, artificial flashbacks, shock therapy, trauma therapy, and an electronic holocaust, just to list a few. All right, so Project Monarch programming and disassociation. Dissociative identity disorder. Victims of this dissociative identity disorder genuinely have no idea who they are and will be given a false narrative and truth. Victims of this dissociative identity disorder genuinely have no idea who they are and will be given a false narrative as truth, a false identity or second identity as truth, and develop a false memory syndrome to store all of the misinformation or disinformation and false information. Fake records and documents manufactured by the CIA to allude to the general public that the victim being tortured is somehow mentally impaired. If the motherly instinct is too strong, the mother may be prescribed tranquilizers. I would love to see them do this to Jerron so he can rip them to shreds. Or, anybody else like him for that matter. And also so that those victims that they're torturing can get some peace and rest. If the motherly instinct is too strong, the mom or the mother may be prescribed tranquilizers so that there is not a stable house, ensuring the child's hatred or illness for front altars to grow up in, which will start with blaming the mother for everything. This occult practice is called scapegoating. It is a ritual for ritual abuse. They prefer to choose their victims born out of wedlock so that it is a bastard. In this video on today's episode for today's program, you will have been a witness to how these child sacrifices and these blood ritual sacrifices are being made in what appears to look like a very normal doctor's office and or clinic. But that is a front for the criminal nefarious activities that are actually taking place and occurring inside of the doctor's office. One really interesting thing to note before I go any further is how these 4 women that were inside of the gynecologist's doctor's office, how they sat up against each wall and tried to box me in, creating a quote prison without walls. And you can see this for yourself in the video I provide as evidence to these occult blood sacrifices that are taking place in what seems like a normal doctor's office. To have a baby born outside of wedlock, this is done because it breaks God's commandment on adultery and also gives them more leverage to destroy the victim's self-esteem later on in the program. This entire occult ritual involves generational curses, which are spoken and unspoken. During Illuminati ceremonies, ceremonial pacts which concern having the child outside of wedlock to mock God are made. Now, in this specific context, since my child was sacrificed, in this ceremonial pact, sacrificing my child was done to mock my God. In any case, to continue. And of course, I've already described and will continue to give examples and to describe how they lay the foundation for these misfortunes to occur long before it even happens, so that the crime is being committed accordingly to their agenda, to their plan, and to the foundation that it lays and sets into place. Jesus, ufology, and alien cover stories are all just a few examples of how the CIA systemically alienate bastards from the rest of society. Most of the victim will never even hear the Lord's name. Victims will only hear the voice of its master, who will someday be presented to victims as God. All right, so while Jaron is at work all day, every day, all he does is flirts with the boss, Gina, flirts with the supervisor, Michelle, that one is his favorite, to try and sleep his way to the top, making it obvious that he is willing to do whatever it takes to get their jobs, or to try and be promoted into that field. Gina, Michelle, and Brian and Sorn, they are all kept around him to keep him disassociative. So he can be used as a pawn, a useful idiot just like his horse, willing to do whatever it takes to, quote, get the job done. That is so disgusting. And by the way, Brian, he tells all of your business. We all know, everybody in the community knows that you're a pill-popping adrenaline junkie, so on and so forth, child molester who molests his own children. Gina and Michelle, you're old. Your own kids don't even like you. That's why you have strangers calling you mom. All he does is talk about how old and disgusting you are to him. That's what we call grandma porn. It's a fetish. So just like his whores, a useful idiot willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. He all pervs out on his fucking manager and the supervisor and the manager's daughter. Gina, by the way, he pervs out on your daughter too, also, not just you. So in any case, what a fucking perv. That's a straight up sex offender. Oh, Brian likes to dress his daughters in yoga pants. Would you guys, after everything you know, because I've exposed these psyops for what they actually are, and these undercovers for who and what they actually are, they're all assassins. They're wannabe assassins. Their method to assassination is not actually taking a gun and shooting somebody execution style. It is harassing them until they become suicidal. Blackmailing a victim until it becomes suicidal. And then turning around and making it seem like they're an assassin. No, the fuck you are not. You're a harassing spirit. You need to go right back to hell where you fucking came from. All that money that you claim to have is not even yours. How stupid! In any case, after everything that you guys have heard me talk about on my program and expose all of these undercover so-called assassins in their yoga pants, flashing their ass, trying to manufacture and weaponize a faulty mental health diagnosis so they can stage a synthetic suicide programming for their victim that they're currently trying to depopulate. That would be me, the one that changed the entire world, that they generated a profit off of when they are done exploiting their victims, generating a profit off of. They incarcerate it. They set it up to have it murdered on the inside, and they harass it until it is capable of staging a synthetic suicide programming. Thank you very much. I am not suicidal. If or when anybody ever comes out and tries to say that I committed suicide, it was an act of coercion. This is my point. Victims of this psychological attrition are coerced. They don't have free will. So, just a useful fucking idiot willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done, just like the rest of these fucking dumbasses, willing to do anything for a fucking dollar. It's embarrassing. It makes people with money look so much worse, not better. It's embarrassing. Give that money to one of your victims. Pay your fucking restitutions already before somebody like me comes for that money in blood. So in any case, it's willing to do anything and everything to get a job promotion. Watch out, because it will fucking kill you and make it seem like a fucking accident just to get a goddamn fucking job promotion. It is obsessed with finding weaknesses or soft spots to exploit in order to apply torture to those areas. And when you have a beauty mark like mine quite literally beautiful from head to toe. It'll try to apply painful stimuli to that beauty mark. So it'll put a piercing on top of it. Or it'll talk about how it cut its beauty mark shaving. Stupid ass shit to apply torture to that good character quality about a victim, about one of their victims. It will send penguin gifts because the penguin from Batman has a bad back and I have a bad posture from all of this stress. Pay your fucking restitutions so I can get my teeth and my back fixed. Now you see why it's so important that they keep these victims impoverished so they look homeless and crazy and they fit the bill, they fit the narrative. I mean, you torture somebody to the point of homelessness and suicide, and I guarantee you they're going to look like it. They're not just going to feel like it, they're going to look like it. And you better watch out because these people are ready to come for that money and blood. If I were you, I wouldn't even allow myself to get comfortable, because once you've taken everything from a person and there's nothing left for them to lose, you're the one that's going to get gone. You're the next one that's going to go lost. You're the one that they are gunning down. Hands motherfucking down. I laugh so hard it gives me a fucking orgasm when I hear how a police officer was shot to death. Haha, that's what you get. You knew exactly what the fuck you were signing up for when you left the house that day, dumb psychotic bitch. What the fuck is your problem? You want people to have empathy for you when you are the cause of all of this evil and chaos in the entire world? No. You knew exactly what you were getting yourself into before you put that fake costume on, because you ain't a real one. That's a front. That's why you're getting gunned down in the first place. In any case, these officers, these police officers, and everybody else working for this corrupt system, they know exactly what they're getting themselves into when they put that uniform on, when they put that badge on, and before they leave the house to get into their car for the day. I laugh so hard I have a fucking orgasm when I hear how a police officer was gunned down. So in any case, that's the evil that they get. That is their karma for these secret, clandestine, covert operations that they're running. They think nobody knows? No. Or if somebody does know, the only thing that they're going to know is that the person who is spilling the beans is crazy. The one that's whistleblowing is insane. Fuck no. That's why you all are getting gunned down, making the fucking news. So in any case, back to Batman, Penguin. I just think it's so funny how slick these agents of Satan think that they are. Do not send me anything with a fucking penguin on it. Bitch, I'm a fucking phoenix. A pussy-ass penguin could fucking never. God damn. So like I was saying, it is always looking for a weakness to exploit. That's what traffickers and narcissists and psychosadists do. That's what they live for. Literally, that's their real job. It's a trafficker. It is always looking for a weakness to exploit secretly. So can you just imagine all of the whoring around that it's doing when I'm not around? Or all of the secrets it's keeping when its trafficked victim is forced to isolate, and it's purposefully doing all of this to deprive it intentionally? I can just imagine. When it has to buy groceries, it will waste thousands of dollars just to buy food, drinks, or medicine with trigger words or something super similar to apply torture, especially when the victim is helpless and codependent and unable to stop it, or unable to go to the store and buy food for themselves, or unable to go to the store and buy essentials for themselves. This becomes intercepted by the trafficker, handler, covert narcissist working for those that are pushing this satanic Luciferian agenda to depopulate. And secretly creating alliances with other enemies who set up and conspired against not only himself, his entire family, his unborn child that is in heaven now, and myself, his wife. So he's just being used as a useful idiot to apply all of this torture. So going grocery shopping is like, which by the way, it never does. It never does. It has a food insecurity. Jerron has a massive food insecurity because he's overweight. He does not have a healthy relationship with food at all. So this should not be a shocker here. It doesn't even have a healthy relationship with food or money. So how can it have a healthy relationship with a person? A human being? It doesn't. It abuses that as well, the same way it abuses itself. So this is done primarily, when, especially when a victim is unable to go to the store and provide for their own basic needs. That's what it means to be codependent. So furthering the torture even more. And using the food to deliver like some sort of a message. Using the medicine to try to deliver some sort of subliminal, passive-aggressive message. It'll use suggestive body language to apply torture. This is called no-touch torture. Or electromagnetic shock therapy. The electromagnetic shock therapy or the shock therapy is simply anything that gets your heart racing. Anything. It's trying to cause you to have high blood pressure. It's trying to be the cause or the reason behind your medical diagnosis or medical misdiagnosis. And it does this primarily by profiling your medical history. If there's anything on there, like I have epilepsy, it'll start harassing you with flashing lights. So you'll have a seizure and die. And I'm just so glad that I caught this on video so everybody knows that I am not crazy. And that these things actually have set me up so many different times to secretly and covertly have me assassinated by what would appear to be some sort of natural death or some sort of natural cause, when the reality is my medical history, my medical record was profiled and then provoked. So that's the reason why I have anxiety, depression, and anything or everything else. Everything and anything else. So it delivers these messages covertly in an attempt to disturb the peace. It'll harass with noise, lights, colors. How schizophrenic that a color has a meaning. Colors don't speak. But these programmers harass with colors to the point where the color has a meaning. And the color gray simply can be used to gaslight a victim and to facilitate a Holocaust. That's why they're setting these covert military bases, alien covert military bases are set up in the community and in the home around every single one of these victims, around every single one of these targets. And it is for this purpose, so that everybody in the community can be recruited to harass one specific individual, so that every single person in the family and in the community will be harassed 24/7, so much to the point where they mirror the programmers and they serve as useful idiots or pawns to apply this torture. So it'll harass with the noise, the lights, the colors, and then weaponizes the psychology of colors to overwhelm the victim's senses, to apply torture, and to cause sensory deprivation. When forced to notice positive aspects about the victim, torture is applied, and specifically applied to that part of the victim's body, mind, or face. An example, a beauty mark piercing to apply torture to a specific area. And I've kind of already gone over this. So another example, if the victim is extremely talented and successful at modeling, or if the victim is extremely talented and is a successful musician, then they will be mocked. They will mock, these programmers will mock their victim and ridicule the talented aspect of that victim in order to apply torture. Great efforts will be made to suppress any acknowledgments of the victim's positive aspects or people's awareness of any good character qualities about the victim. Rumor campaigns. All of this is done essentially to isolate the victim, to alienate, and to demonize in order to apply torture. This is all necessary. It works to keep males so distracted on the psyop, the street theater, the honeypot, and yoga pants. It works to keep you so distracted on the present moment. So that is whatever is currently distracting you in that present moment. So you won't have any time to plan a future at all, because you don't have a future. You're a child or a victim. Child is code for victim of a forced will and a forced fate, or a forced dictated destiny. So you don't have a future. So you're so distracted. So you don't even have the time to plan a future, because you don't have one. You don't have free will at all. So you end up being so distracted by the porn and the psyop in the street, and then in the algorithm that's simulating the psyop in the street. That's why as soon as you see a girl in the street, you're already pre-groomed, primed and programmed to go on Pornhub and try to find a model, which, by the way, porn stars are not real models by any stretch of the measure. They're appropriating real models. You won't see that fat ghetto ass on a Dior runway, is what I am saying, ever. All right? They have one specific look, and that look is for the dark web. It's for trafficking and traffickers. It's for sex and sex only. So they keep you so distracted with the honeypot street theater and then the algorithm simulating. This is why you hop on the internet and the first thing you see is something that reminds you of what you've seen in the street. And in several cases, these men will go on Pornhub to look for that model specifically or try to find somebody who fits that profile so they can masturbate to that. The idea that any man sits around and masturbates to a woman that they don't know is so creepy. Why is this being done? This is a sex offender. No man anywhere should be carving out time to masturbate and watch porn. That is sadistic and satanic. It shouldn't be happening, let alone happening in a relationship or when a man is married and unhappy with his wife. If you're unhappy, let the bitch go. Stop abusing her like a dog. She's not a dog. Dogs can't change the world. Please stop. Please stop. Dogs cannot be sexually exploited for a profit. Please stop. So in any case, at any rate, back to what I was saying, you get so distracted with the porn, you forget you have a family, you forget you have a wife, and therefore you don't plan a future for your wife. That's why on special days, on holidays, anniversaries, birthdays, there will be nothing fucking planned. Nothing planned. The CIA works to keep you so addicted to porn so you don't have a future and can't plan a future with your wife. This is all so fucking sick. So fucking sick. So in any case, at any rate, these targets and the victims of this occult ritual scapegoating and all of this ritual abuse and ritual magic, they're being set up to be sacrificed to the devil. And so realistically, when they become woke to that truth, every single person that you see participating in these gang stalking psyops, they really only do exist because I allow it. Because I have not killed them yet. You get up every day and you participate in this gang stalking because men, women, and children like myself allow you to do it. You literally exist because I have yet to kill you. You literally exist because you think you're safe behind this trauma block that you create for all of your brainwashed victims. You're alive because your victims haven't killed you and allow you to survive. That's the only reason why you're not dead right now. And all right, so because of the programming and the programmers, you will have to get used to being abused by everybody as a scapegoat. As a victim of this ritual torture, you will be desensitized to being abused by everybody in your family, every relationship that you've ever had, and everybody in the community. So that includes the romantic relationship. And so one of the things that I wanted to go over was I recently asked Jerron what he loves about me. And bear with me because I've been sick and I've also been dealing with depression really bad ever since I had an abortion. So I recently asked him because his abuse, the way that he goes about abusing me, makes me feel like I'm ugly. And if I'm ugly, then that's justification for the abuse. And also, if I'm ugly, then what is it about me that he loves? Because as you guys probably know at this point, narcissists don't date for love. They date for either money or looks. And usually they're dating for looks. So now that it has beat me in the face to the point where I'm unrecognizable and no longer look the way that I did before. But it's left me with nothing. So there will never be anybody to love me ever again because there's nothing left for them to love. And so when I asked him what he loved about me, it's not about what he said, it's about what they don't say. So basically, when you ask them a question like this, automatically they go to exploit the love. This is why they're traffickers. This is why I call every narcissist and covert narcissist a trafficker, because it automatically goes to exploit the love. So you actually set them up to abuse you covertly by asking a question like this. And when I asked him what he loves about me, he said, number one, because I'm smart. Well, everybody in the world doesn't think I'm smart. Everybody thinks I'm an idiot. And not only that, but they think I'm so dumb that I'm actually crazy, that it's some sort of a mental illness or some sort of mental disorder. Nobody thinks I'm smart. So that's a lie. Nobody watches my YouTube channel. Nobody ever comments about how I'm smart. If you haven't been paying attention, then let me elaborate. People don't think I'm smart because usually smart people have college degrees and a lot of wealth. So obviously he's lying. If you look at the comment sections, people are saying I read like a 3-year-old. People generally don't think that I'm smart. Simply taking this rebellion, this action of rebellion against this government and these system operators is the dumbest thing a person can ever do. In a lot of people's opinions. So people generally don't think that I'm smart. So just right off the bat, that's just a lie. And number two, because of the way that I make him feel. And number three, because I love him. So not because I'm beautiful, not because I have a sexy ass or a nice body, not because I'm amazing in bed, not because of anything that I've been gifted with as far as talents, not because I'm a model, a beautiful model, not because I have a beautiful singing voice, not because I'm an amazing artist, not because of the work that I've done in the 3 books that I've wrote or on my YouTube channel. No, none of it.
So basically, when you ask him why he loves you, when I asked him why he loved me, what he ended up giving me was an excuse, a list of excuses as to why he can't or won't or doesn't. And that's exactly the way that I took it. And so, because of the programming, he isn't even allowed to notice any positive aspects about me. And he's forced to exclusively notice exaggerated, warped, and untrue slander about myself 24/7. He's too afraid to even bring his lips to confess that he thinks that I'm beautiful or to acknowledge anything at all about me. Because the only person that is beautiful, in his opinion, are the cookie cutter, honeypot porn stars that fit the social standard of what it means to be beautiful. And that's not me. So how could I even come close to that? I almost feel stupid just for asking this question. Because of the programming, he isn't even allowed to be seen or to see me as a person worthy of love. Because I don't fit the social standard. I don't meet the social standard of somebody who is beautiful, in his opinion. I'm not worthy of love because I'm not beautiful, is the excuse. Is what he said without saying anything at all. I mean, god damn, is it really that hard to tell your wife that she's beautiful? It shouldn't be. That should be number one. The only thing on his mind are these whores. That's it. He doesn't have enough of a mind, a mental capacity to think about anything else in that regard. He is forced to exclusively notice the bad about me while he's forced fed exclusively noticing the good about everybody else, which, by the way, is so embarrassing they can't even afford the pants that they wore. They robbed, raped, and molested just to get what the fuck they got on. They murdered people so they can have what they have. They're not better than anybody. Money is the root of all evil. And because of this programming, he is forced to deny any attraction to me or to my body. So if you don't think that my body is sexy and if you don't think that I'm beautiful, why are you having sex with me? If those are not the top 2 reasons for you loving me, why are you having sex with me? So again, like I've continuously said, every single victim that is anchored to these DV relationships by the CIA in order to manufacture a faulty mental health diagnosis, every sexual encounter within the relationship is rape. Because the victim is incapable of leaving and staying better off away. Every time we have sex, it's rape. That's just so fucking sick. And so it comes around to harass in order to apply this torture. And because of the programming, he is forced to only notice or have attraction for rape culture and state-sponsored, quote, influencers. Because of the programmers, he will have only one person, place, and or thing on his mind 24/7. And because of the programming, he will eventually no longer find you attractive in any regard, because he's forced to exclusively notice every bad quality about you, which is not bad. How can an ugly person be a model? They can not. This is all conspiracy to sabotage. It is really shameful that he can't even tell his pregnant wife. He can slap me. He can slap me, but he can't tell me that I'm beautiful. He can slap his pregnant wife, which is why I had an abortion. But telling her she's beautiful and knowing what to do when she feels insecure is just alien. The only thing it knows how to do when its pregnant wife starts crying and feeling insecure is apply more torture. So that'll be the reason why we end up being abused further in the future. So as to force the victim, the wife, the pregnant wife, whatever, the girlfriend, not to feel the way that it does, to coerce it into feeling a different way, which does not work. Okay? How sad that the attention I should naturally be gifted for all of my beauty is stolen by rape culture and given to them instead. What they're doing is not beautiful. It is not sexy. Trafficking is evil. Sexual exploitation, murder, genocide, and a Holocaust, there's nothing attractive about that. So obviously, if there's nothing attractive about it, then it takes extreme measures to mind control these misfortunes for its victims. How sad that the money I should be making modeling, I'm deprived of. And that money is stolen by the gang stalkers working the PSYOP and by rape culture. Traffickers within rape culture. He has slapped me more times than he has called me beautiful. How sad. He has told strangers online how beautiful he thinks they are while in this relationship with me, to deprive me of that love. More times than he has ever told me that I'm beautiful. He has taken me to the plastic surgery doctor more times than he's ever said that I was beautiful. And I know a lot of this has to do with his own insecurities, but it's also a result of this program and programming, and why these victims who are seemingly normal are set up and coerced into committing suicide or something else. He has taken his friends out to go eat more times than he's taken me out on a date. He's gone out on dates with other women more times than he's taken me out on a date. He's taken the woman that he cheats on me with out on dates more times than he has taken me. And this is all a result of the programming. I can't even count all the tears that I have cried losing this battle. I can't even count all the number of pages I've wrote in total protesting this evil. And so by the time he comes home from work, he has already been exposed to 50 to 200 different women, different honeypots, different so-called models or state-paid influencers online and in person, at the job, at the work, wherever. I'm just saying, wherever. So he's always putting himself in a position where he can check these women out more, which is the real reason why he goes to the gym. It is also the reason why he is not fit and insecure, because he chooses to focus exclusively on other people and not himself. He doesn't prioritize the people that should be massive influencers in his life. He doesn't prioritize them. He gives more priority to strangers. I've talked about this tons of times. And I'm just so tired of him coming home after he's broke, spending all of his money on these whores, whoring online. Most of these programmers will mock him and ridicule him and call him gay because he's actually sending his money to a guy, to a dude who's catfishing him for money, who's playing him for his money. I'm just so tired of him coming home after he's broke, after he's spent every dollar on his whores, after he gives his cousins murderers and rape culture every single penny he owns. Then he comes home for sex with me that's free. It's not real sex, it's rape. If I had the restitutions that I'm owed to make a life for myself elsewhere, I wouldn't be in this situation being abused and being raped.